Señoras y señores, buenas tardes, mucho gusto. Our planet has a fever, and it is getting hotter every day. We can no longer afford to burn our way to prosperity. We must take climate action now. And the more we delay, the more we will have to pay. This is our only world. We have a moral and political responsibility. Now here in Lima, historical responsibility from Lima to Paris. Future generations should be able to live our planet sustainable, environmentally, socially, and economically. We simply must find clearer, greener ways of powering progress. We come together here in Lima with a measure of optimism. There is a due climate for change. In September at the Climate Summit, more than 100 heads of state and government gathered. There were two purposes of convening this climate summit meeting in New York. First, raise the political awareness on climate change among world leaders and business communities and civil society leaders. And secondly, galvanizing action on the ground. I believe that more or less we have achieved those two goals, and the leaders, all the leaders from business and government and civil society, they reaffirmed that they should work together to put this planet Earth and our future onto sustainable path where global temperature rise would be contained less than below 2 degrees. The summit brought together all these leaders, and this is now time to implement what they have said. And this is the main purpose of this Lima. And at that time, mayors from around the world launched an agreement that will lead to significant emission reductions and more livable cities. And leaders from government, the investment communities, and financial institutions committed to mobilize over $200 billion for low carbon and climate resilient solutions. In October, as you are very well aware, European Union countries committed to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 40% from its 1990 levels by 2030. In November, China and the United States, the world's two largest economies and two largest emitters, responsible for 45% of global emissions, announced a groundbreaking agreement in which both countries set emissions reduction goals. We have now also almost very closely, we have been able to mobilize $10 billion to operationalize the Green Climate Fund, known as a GCF. This fund will help developing countries to adapt to the impacts of climate change and enhance their mitigation efforts. The world is waking up to the climate change. The negotiations here must be about acting together to transform this progress into the basis for a meaningful, universal climate agreement. Important decisions must be taken in Lima. As I said this morning, I have five requests of all parties. First, we need to leave here with a draft text for the 2015 agreement that provides a clear and solid foundation for negotiations next year. We must also reach a common understanding on the scope and status of intended nationally determined contributions, or INDCs. I encourage all parties, in particular all major economies, to submit their INDCs by the first quarter of 2015. Second, we need tangible progress on climate finance, specifically achieving $10 billion for the Green Climate Fund, while building a pathway to meeting the goal of $100 billion per year by 2020 and realizing the $200 billion committed by the private finance sector. As I said, we have almost achieved this initial operationalization of GCF. Third, prioritizing adaptation support and resilience building for the most vulnerable, especially the least developed countries and small island developing nations. Fourth, pressing all actors, including the private sector, civil society, cities and others, to scale up and catalyze more action within ambitious timeline. Fifth, countries that have not yet done so to swiftly ratify the Doha Amendment to Kyoto Protocol. Ladies and gentlemen, much has changed in the climate debate over the 8 years. And when I took office as a Secretary General, I saw time running out and the world falling short. And today, the momentum for transformation is building. Governments, businesses, and people at large are recognizing the grave threat we face and are doing something about it. The action must continue in Lima. We need a meaningful global agreement, and we need action now. I thank you for your support.